Now we'll define the properties and methods for the SlideShowModel class. We'll start by defining some properties above the constructor method. So create a public property, images. This is going to be an XML list. So this is going to represent all of the repeating XML image elements in the slideshow's data. Create another public property. This one's going to be called current image. This is going to represent the current XML image that we're working with. So the slideshow model is basically going to have a current XML image element, and we can access its data through that. Now we'll create two more public properties. One called current title, that represents the title for the current image. It's going to be a string. And then another one called current file. That represents the file location for the image, which is also going to be a string. Now before we define the methods that we're going to use, I want to take you over to the model class file. In the model file, there are two protected methods. First, let's look at update data. It doesn't do anything in the model class. Now why is that? It's for this reason. In the setCurrentIndex method, current index is set, control current index occurs, and then update data happens before the event is dispatched. Update data is a method that can be different in any descendant of the model. And this is where the unique code processing happens for each descendant. So when I have the slideshow model, I'm going to do something different with the data than I would in another application. In just a minute, we'll look at how to override the definition for update data in the slideshow model class. Other protected method you want to draw your attention to is all the way at the bottom in data loaded. We're going to override this method or redefine what this method does in the slideshow model class so that we can react differently once the data is loaded. So with a protected method, not only can you just use it in a descendant class or a subclass, but you can also override that method and redefine it in a subclass. So let's go back to slideshow model and we'll see how this works. So I'm going to go down a few lines right below the constructor and I'm going to type override space protected space function space update data. And that's going to have void for the return data type, no parameters. And for right now, we're not going to put anything inside of it. Basically, what this is saying is whatever I define inside of this subclass of model for update data is going to override the original definition of update data in the model class. So update data is now going to run whatever is defined in slideshow model instead of the model. So let's override one more method. So type override space protected space function space data loaded. Capital L needs to receive an event with a data type of event. It's going to be void. And inside of here, we're going to do something pretty similar to what we did in the model class. That is, we're going to set data equal to the loader's data. However, since we know we're working with XML data in the slideshow model, we're going to data type that to XML. So type new XML, and in the parentheses, pass in loader.data. Remember, the data property in the model class is defined as an asterisk, meaning it can be any data type. So it's perfectly acceptable to set it as an XML instance here. Further, the loader property is not defined in the slideshow model class, but rather it's a protected property in the model class, meaning it can be accessed by its subclasses. Alright, right below where we set the data, the next step is to set the value of images. Remember, that's the XML list of all the images. Images is going to be equal to data.image. Image, again, is the repeating XML element inside of our XML file. Since it's a repeating element, Flash reads it as an XML list. So we're setting images equal to all of those images, and we can access them using array access notation, which we'll do later on. Go to the next line, and then we'll just run setCurrentIndex, passing in the value of current index, which again is defined in the model class. Save this file, file save. And then I'm just going to jump over to my FLA file, take a look at the code in the timeline. It's the same code that we wrote in a previous movie, just creating a new instance of slideshow model and running data changed once the data has been changed. So just making sure this works. We'll test the movie and we don't get any errors. and we get the appropriate message in the output window, so we're good to move on.